might all seem like different problems, but the truth is they're all caused by the same underlying issue. And that's that healthcare data in general is kind of all over the place. It's a huge mess. It's in different formats. It's not human. A lot of it is human readable, not machine readable. Some of it is incomplete, and there's no one source for anything. This is the exact problem that we created Veracred to address. Our goal is to create a single system where all healthcare provider data is continuously updated and verified and accessible to everybody. We want to bring true data liquidity to this market. But we're a startup. We can't do everything at once. So where do we start? Well, I'm sure we all remember this. So it turns out this is exactly Bob's problem. All he wants is to buy a healthcare plan and not lose his doctors, which he has many because he's got a lot of kids. So you would think that there's one place to go for healthcare provider information. You'd think there's one place to go for all the insurance plans. There isn't. Instead, we've had to build a database and go to every source of information for all of these things, collect it. We built proprietary algorithms for cleaning it up, normalizing it, and presenting it out. And now, after just 9 months, we have the cleanest source of health plan provider information available in 5 states. What do we do with this information? Well, the first thing we did was we built a really great app on top of it. We call it Plan Compass. Plan Compass allows you to search in one search and see which of your doctors are in or out from every single plan. It doesn't just tell you, does this doctor take Aetna? It tells you, does this doctor take this specific Aetna plan at every level? You can filter by metal level, plan type, and provider, or by which doctors are most important. Plan Compass is live in 5 states right now, and it'll be live in 17 more states in the next 60 days. We aim to be in all 50 states before open enrollment this year. So the other cool thing about this is that with our team and all the data gathering and everything, it took us only 4 months to build it. We really like our team. They're pretty awesome. So that's cool. We solved this problem for the 13 million people who enrolled through ACA last year. But what about the 100 million people who get their insurance through their employer? Well, if you can't do that sort of doctor match analysis for 5 people in Bob's family, it must be pretty impossible to do it for 100 people in a small business. So we built another app, B2B this time. Plan Compass for Business lets you run that same analysis across an entire population of people, letting you see for every single plan how many people are going to have their networks disrupted if you switch to the specific plan, and maybe take some, maybe save some money in the process. So this took 4 months to build. So in 9 months, we built 2 apps. We built the most complete set of provider data available. We've been recognized as a finalist by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in their Health and Human Services contest. And we are in constant discussions with almost every level of the insurance and healthcare industries. But this is just the start. We think that there's actually lots of other applications for our data. So that's great. We've solved Bob's problem. But what about Jill and Dr. Rosen? Well, over time, as our database grows and includes different pieces of information, then we're going to start being able to address all of these other constituencies. And we don't just want to stop at doctors. We want to stop at every single medical provider in the United States. So why now? Obviously, this is a big thing in the news. The economics of healthcare are changing. As people reach into their pockets more frequently, they want more data transparency. They want to be able to make better decisions. So now, as for our data, we don't want to just be the only ones who use it. We think that anyone can make good use of this, and as our data set grows, we're going to move into additional markets. Now that we've introduced provider-centric data search, we think it's going to be a vital part of every insurance search, either starting this year at open enrollment and going forward. So we really have two plans for monetization. One, we want to keep building cool apps on top of our data. Our Plan Compass app for individuals is free to use, and we're partnering with GAs and FMOs to bring it to the 400,000 brokers out there who do individual business. And Plan Compass for Business is not a free tool. It costs $2 per employee for brokers or for HR folks. We've also got a few other interesting products in the pipeline. Not going to talk about those right now. But we also just want to sell our data. We want to make it available through a live API. And license it out to all sorts of other sites or services that want to use it. So as our data grows, so too do our opportunities. This is where we are today with 5 verified data elements, and we have what we refer to as provider network transparency solutions. Obviously, this is a pretty good market, but we want to keep going and keep growing. So as we add more data elements to our database, now we move into directory solutions, and as we add more, we get into the bigger, larger credentialing market, which hospitals and doctors spend $2 billion a year on. So there are many, many people in the healthcare data space, and they have great solutions that address some of the symptoms that we've described, the fragmented data being all over the place. We really want to address the underlying problem of there not being a single verified source, and we want to partner with these folks in order to provide the best data to everyone. Now, we're looking for a $10 million Series A. We are looking to scale our team, scale our data set, and expand our marketing in the directions of strategic partnerships and data sales and data partnerships. So if you're interested in talking to us, I, the CEO, and the CTO will be walking around. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now up, Witchbox Media.
Can I have that mic because I'm vertically challenged and this podium is not built for me? Thank you very much.
Clicker.
Good afternoon. I'm Bettina Bennett, and I'm the CEO and Chief Maverick at Witchbox Media. And we love stories. We think stories are not only what connects us as human beings with each other, but also as people with brands, causes, and ideas. So why do you think this is important? Well, once upon a time, companies could get our attention by just blasting advertising everywhere, screaming at us, broadcasting, and talking at us. However, we've all learned how to kind of ignore that and completely bypass all of those opportunities that they're trying us to take attention of. And even social media, which initially was kind of touted as the perfect route, is getting extremely fragmented and siloed. So companies really have to find new ways to get the keys to the hearts and, of course, pockets of their customers, consumers, and audiences. And we believe that that's not only content, but it's really user-generated content. 70% of all our purchasing decisions are actually made based on what other people say and not what companies are telling us. So in order to remedy that, we've actually built the first interactive storytelling engine that combines 4 technologies in one. It gives a branded community platform. It provides user-generated content tools. It's tied in with gamification tools that allow you to reward your users for participation. And then it has a community content management system, which is different from regular CMS, because they're usually built to broadcast rather than actually to allow your audience to become co-authors of your brand messages and your brand story. Rather than telling you how all the technology works, I'll just give you a simple example. Last year, we had the privilege of working with Fossil and all of its watch station brands. Not many of you may know that Fossil actually manufactures the watches for all of those brands on the screen. And they sell them in their watch station stores, which is similar to Sunglass Hut. They realized that sending e-commerce messages and catalogs was maybe getting them business from existing customers, but was not attracting a new audience. So together with the agency, they decided to focus on stories and storytelling and creating a lifestyle destination that was interesting to the people that would buy those kinds of products. And they went all out. They actually decorated their stores with an editor theme. They launched a print publication. And they used our Witchbox platform to power a lifestyle destination where they now not only told great stories about travel, art, music, fashion, and trends, but where most importantly, they could now invite their fans to become active contributors into that lifestyle destination. So Jenny was able to share the story or the love story of her great-great-grandfather and the pocket watch that he got from his bride and the role that pocket watch has played in her family in that environment and create an emotional connection between the brand and its users. She was able to do that using our organic storytelling tools, which are simple WYSIWYG tools that allow anybody to create a multimedia piece of content on the fly. And as long as you can type, copy, paste, drag, drop, and push a submit button, you're good to go. We've also built gamification tools into the platform so users can now get rewarded. The more important part is, as a brand or organization or nonprofit, you now actually know who your most important brand ambassadors and advocates are, because you can tell who is the most active. The other thing you're doing is that you're actually leveraging your audience's social connections to drive traffic, engagement, and ultimately revenue. Because we know organic reach on Facebook is now at 0 unless you pay to play. So we're circumventing that by allowing you to actually have your users promote the fact that they now have become co-authors of your brand story. So Witchbox allows brands to not only crowdsource user-generated content, but also tap into their social connections and really nurture and encourage community, which then enhances the buyer's journey and allows to grow revenue. We have an interesting position in the competitive landscape. Right now, the only alternative to what we do is really hire an agency, spend somewhere upwards of $500,000 or $1 million, and build a custom application that then costs you between 40 and 60K a month to support with an IT team. Or you assemble one of those many applications I've listed to sort of put together a kit and caboodle of technology applications that were never built to play nice with each other. So in addition to giving brands a whole new way to connect with their audiences, we save them substantial amounts of money and time. Our business model is very simple. We're a software as a service company. We charge an implementation and setup fee, and then monthly licensing and services fee, and have service level agreements on top of that for brands that don't work with an agency or need additional support. The market opportunity for social technologies like ours has been estimated by McKinsey at $67 billion. We rather prefer to look at it from a bottoms-up perspective and look at the kinds of companies that we like to work with, which results in about $4.8 billion market opportunity per year. We've had the privilege of actually working with a lot of really interesting brands, and we just signed a contract with HP in Silicon Valley, who's going to use our platform for a first-of-its-kind customer engagement initiative in the B2B space. We have put together a great team. My background is in publishing and entertainment. Our COO is Patrick Seaman, Mark Cuban's employee #1, who helped him build AudioNet into broadcast.com. And we've gotten a number of awards and recognitions, especially in the last year, and have been named one of the top 100 global companies in tech to watch. And if you'd like to talk to us, here's my contact information. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have EXP.
All right, thank you guys so much. I'm very excited to be here to introduce you guys to EXP Commerce. We're an Israeli tech company, and I am the president of the United States division. And EXP Commerce is for retailers who do not offer buyback programs. We are a SaaS-based platform that eliminates all the barriers to entry. And for the retailers, we allow them to generate an immediate revenue without having to make an investment. This is important because there's a seismic shift happening in the retail commerce space today. Most notably, consumers are looking for experiences over products. This ownership is what's happening right now. Consumers are looking for ways to experience different products without having to invest the full amount of money up front or manage or maintain or store that inventory when they're done with it. You'll know a lot of these brands that are up here who are meeting this demand for their consumers. They're building technologies and infrastructures to support this because traditional retailer solutions don't meet this demand. They don't have the infrastructure. They sell products one way. Our consumers love us because we provide a complete host of solutions for them. Our technology plugs directly into their web application and and allows them to offer a guaranteed buyback price at the time of purchase. Our marketing, because we've proven this in our proof of concept, we know how to promote and message it to consumers as well. So we offer that as a solution to our retailers. And then from an operations perspective, if they don't want to receive the inventory back and have to validate it and resell the product, we do that on their behalf. And our last part is our proprietary pricing algorithms that provide the buyback value at time of purchase for the consumer. So imagine every retailer offering a guaranteed buyback price in the form of store credit at the time of purchase. This is important for the retailers because it addresses this challenge of offering a competitive solution while creating a continuous engagement cycle. The consumer now receives a guaranteed buyback, they send it back, they use that store credit to purchase, and so on and so forth. All of those gift cards that are not being redeemed are a function of not having enough money to spend it. So this provides a solution for that. Retailers also love this because we're reducing their cost of customer acquisition by offering a unique value proposition to get the consumer back. They then generate additional profits on the resale of the next item, and ultimately they're tying that connection to the resale that would have happened in a secondary marketplace or with another retailer. As I said, we proved this out with our own retailer itself, GameLock. You can go to there today and buy a video game, and at the time of purchase, you're guaranteed a buyback value within 8 weeks. And what we found is when we presented that to a consumer, they doubled their add-to-cart ratio. So how are we going to monetize it? We are a freemium service for internet retailers. That's where we're starting. We anticipate that we're going to generate, and we've done it on the GameLock business, revenue on the resale of their goods. As a consumer grows in their engagement, we move them over to the Pro solution, and that provides them the opportunity to do more transactions as well as access to our reports and our database. And then powerhouses for the retailers who want to actually resell that product back to their consumers. We offer that as well. So our growth strategy is to go to the internet retailers. We're launching in 2 weeks with additional retailers on Shopify platform that has over 165,000 retailers. And then we're going to expand because we have dozens of retailers that want our product today. They just happen to operate on other platforms like Magento, BigCommerce, and Shopify. And we have to do the development to get onto that. We'll scale our business across these retailers and the internet while parallel pathing engagement with big retailers across an enterprise solution. And the team that's going to bring that together is a skilled group of entrepreneurs led by our founder, Andy Altschuler, who is a 4-time founder with his background in e-commerce and finance. Danny Kostrich, who sold his first business at the ripe age of 19, is a proven CTO and experience developing SaaS solutions. And then myself, an experienced retail executive who, my first company that I built was sold to GameStop for a buy-sell trade business. And then I also built the rental video game business model for Redbox as well. And we're supported by an amazing advisory group with Israel Gano, who is the founder of Gazelle. And then Ellie Wertman, who is the chairman of Auto America, which is currently called Vroom. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Okay, thank you. We now have Beyond Home.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Alexei Urshek. I'm the CEO and founder of Beyond Home.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Where am I supposed to be looking here?
Is this the video? Sorry, give me a second. Sorry, I don't... Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
That's okay, I can just do my stand-up routine.
Yes, I don't know why it's not doing the normal thing. That's what we've been doing.
So security and safety, they're the most important things in everyone's home, yet fewer than 5% of people actually have and use a home security system of any sort. And we want to change that by taking a wildly different approach to home security using the simplest possible consumer electronic product out there, which is the light bulb. Meet your new home protection system.
It's not the usual slideshow.
Protect your home with a swipe. The Beyond bulbs will learn your lighting patterns and replay them to make it look like you're still at home.
Has that been the case since you started the pattern, or is it just this one?
And when a burglar checks to see if you're home, Beyond Light responds. Power outage occurs. Beyond is there. If an emergency strikes, Beyond is there.
I mean, I'll just have to write it. We'll do it in between presentations, just to make sure it's okay.
We'll even leave the lights on for you.
It's pretty many transitions, okay?
The next one now, so I'm just trying.
Part of not being able to afford any professional talent is doing the voiceover yourself. So that's actually me in that video doing that. So we designed this entire experience, starting with the experience and working backwards. And we did some things that are quite different than normal smart home products that you might see out there. So for example, don't always reinvent. The light switch actually works fine, and everyone knows how to use it. Grandmother, 5-year-old, your Airbnb visitors, so leave it alone. And what we've done, like you saw in that video, is leverage that behavior and make it create value from that. Create an experience and an emotional connection based on familiar experiences that people already see in their everyday lives. So if there's a power outage at your place of work, or if there's a fire alarm at your kid's school, there's emergency lighting that helps them get out of the house and to safety. Our product does all of that automatically. 70 to 90% of people already leave a light on when they go on vacation, or people want it to look like there are other people at their home when they go to sleep. A spouse is traveling, they do something with their lights anyway. All we're doing is making that intelligent and wonderful and pretty awesome. We're shipping the product right now. We've been working on this for over 2 years. We did a soft launch on Kickstarter, had a successful campaign there. We sell the product both through traditional security channels. So unlike a lot of disruptive startups, we're embracing the traditional channels. We actually believe the security industry is a great way to get into the home. They understand their customers. They're essentially selling home technology before anybody else has. And I'm actually in between sessions at the ESX Security Expo in Baltimore, and I just took the train up here for this. So, and glad to be here. We also sell directly to customers. This is part of the reason the security industry has embraced us. In addition to being the only complementary solution that complements existing security systems, we can also open up the market to people that would never buy traditional security systems, and that's where it really becomes powerful. But this is just the start. We have a completely different perspective on the light socket. We don't see it as just for lighting. We see it as the most important portal into your home. It's in every room. We interact with it every day, sometimes tens of times a day. Family maybe over 100 times a day. We do that subconsciously. We believe that people are misinterpreting and underestimating the value of the light socket by just making it do things like change colors. What we want to do is, again, coming back to this platform, the intelligence is all inside. This is just a normal LED bulb. This is the smarts. Okay? What that means is we can add new features, you can think of them as apps for a bulb and do different things. So we'll add sound next for additional deterrence. So now, remember the doorbell sequence? You ring a doorbell, light turns on in the bedroom, you hear a baby crying, light turns on in the hallway, you hear somebody yelling, "Get out of here." Light turns on in the entranceway, you hear somebody cocking a shotgun. You can be as aggressive as you want, and you can customize it to do anything you want. This is one of the ways we think we'll build a community around how people will use the system, and that's already started to happen. A lot of the use cases, in fact, the personal security use case that I just described of making your lights downstairs look like someone's there when you go to sleep, that was given to us by customers, we didn't come up with that. Interoperability, so we just won the Z-Wave Alliance Award. The reason we won that is Z-Wave is how traditional security systems operate, and even smart panels now are operating, and they all want us to be interoperable with their systems. So rather than indirectly listening for smoke alarms, you actually can get a direct message from the existing panel. And we do that all very simply through adding an interoperability module. So this thing is completely future-proof. It's very, very easy for us to go the Google way with Brillo and Weave, or go the Apple HomeKit way, or whichever way. All we care about is delivering a fantastic experience for our customers. And then going beyond the home to things like elder care. So imagine every time your parents or your grandparents who are living independently turn their light switch on, you get a text message that now lets you know that they're okay, and you don't have to constantly be intruding on their lives to see that they're okay. The soft fade that you might have seen when I originally turned on the light, that's a feature that's there every day that helps with fall prevention. It's particularly useful with that case, with elders in their cluttered condos. That's what we're trying to do, is plant a seed and change the way people think about the light socket. The hardware is the entry point. Obviously, like the example I just provided, we want to offer subscription services and additional value that comes out through the product, but you've got to start with an immediately valuable, awesome experience that people really care about and people really love. And I'll be here for a couple more hours, so there's a lot of depth that goes behind this company. We've been working on every single facet of the business. We're building these things at Foxconn, and they're shipping to both dealers and beta users right now. So I'd love to see you for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, being home. Very cool lights. Up next, Touch Jack.
Okay, well, that's up and this is up.
How's that up?
Go to the next slide.
Before now, my TV was just for watching. But I just got the TouchJet Wave. It turned my TV into a smart touchscreen. The TouchJet Wave reads several touch points at once, using infrared optical technology and an embedded Android OS. Download any app from the Google Play right onto the Wave. People in our office love it. It gets them out of their chairs, collaborating like never before. You can swipe files, photos, and videos from your handheld device right to the TV. And it's super easy to use. Navigate right from your phone. The TouchJet Wave brings people together in any situation.
We are TouchJet. About a year ago, we crowdfunded the world's first touchscreen projector. We're happy to say that we've already shipped thousands of units all over the world. Now, we're back to crowdfund TouchJet Wave, the ultimate entertainment device that turns your television into a touchscreen smart TV.
Hi everyone. I know that you all have a smartphone or tablet with you. If you just log in to that website and opt in for our Indiegogo campaign for the next round, that'd be great. If you would just back this product on Indiegogo. So that's the first goal, is really get people to know that we are launching TouchJet Wave on Indiegogo. And if you would just participate in that, that'd be fabulous. Just introduction of myself, I'm the CEO of TouchJet. My career started at Leapfrog. It was the #1 educational toy company. And then I started a company called
LiveScribe, which is a smart pen company with one of the co-founders of Leapfrog. And we built it to $50 million within 3 years. In the past 2 years, I was in the M&A world and built a $125 million digital media company. So why TouchJet? So why TouchJet? Okay. TouchJet is relevant because in the past decade, we've invested a lot into the mobile world. As of now, any children you have or any grandchildren you have would not know how to operate anything without a finger touch. There's an ocean of content and applications generated on the mobile devices, your watch, your phone, your tablet. So why not bring everything that's on your mobile devices to the big screen? And better yet, we can turn any screen into a touch screen. I wish I would just use a finger to do it.
Yeah, just click in there.
Or you can flip it for me.
Working on it. I got it.
Okay, so the TouchJet Font, which is a projector, which is a smart projector that can turn any service into a touchscreen. And you can do everything pretty much on your tablet, on the wall, or on a table. And this product has already launched in the United States. You can see it on our website. TouchJet Wave, which is the device with a media box, just like Apple TV. And with an arm on top, we call it Beam. It will turn any flat screen TV into a touch screen. And what it does is that it's not just interactive, as you can use your fingers. You can, it is truly smart because you can upload any productivity, any entertainment, any streaming, any apps on the big screen. And we're developing our app, which would allow you, using your iPhone or your Samsung phone, and interact. Just imagine, next time you come here, it will be TouchJet, and I put swipe files on it. I can do a presentation. I can use my finger to manipulate, and you can participate using your phone. Why the dashboard? While the TV becomes a truly smart device, it becomes the center of information hub. In your living room, in your classroom, and in the meeting room, you can manipulate and get information right on the TV. A quick overview of our milestone. In the past couple years, the company has achieved tremendous milestones. We launched the Font on Indiegogo, and we shipped the product. We're about to launch the second product on Indiegogo. And we've already lined up retailers to carry our product. So we got Best Buy, Amazon, and our online network to distribute product. But the most important thing is that if you look at the market, there are over 300 million flat screen TVs around. So what if we can just get people to spend hundreds of dollars and turn them all into touchscreen smart TV? And compared to our competitors, if you look at the streaming devices, they are a little bit cheaper, but they are not interactive. If you look at the traditional projectors and smart TVs, they're more expensive, but they are not interactive. Compared to $20,000 Microsoft Hub, which is interactive, it doesn't have all the apps that we can upload. So we are in a position that will have tremendous growth with your support. We're number one in the market. There's nobody like us. We are truly interactive. We can upload everything from mobile to big screen to any service. And we're a low-cost solution. Compared to thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, we're talking about hundreds of dollars. This is our revenue forecast, our business model. Hardware plus content plus one-to-many mobile user acquisition. For every hardware we're putting in the market, we're going to have 10s or 20s or 40s of users using our app, and that's the ecosystem that we're building. For home, for business, for hospitality, for education. We have lots of interest in the market. We have a tremendous team that I'm building together. So backing us on Indiegogo, we have a small window for A+ round, which is tiny little money that you could put in. You can just give me cash today. And in 6 months, you are going to see 5 times appreciation of your money today, because we're very confident after the Pond launch, we're going to launch Wave in a big way on Indiegogo. And that will drive the valuation of the money you put in today. Thank you very much.
So let's figure this out.
Okay, thank you. Next is Kids Sport GPS.
Yeah. So I've closed the master slide now.
Hello, my name is Brian Sullivan. I am CEO and founder of Kids Sport GPS. I'm also the father of 3 crazy kids. I hope you learned something. If not, I at least hope you're mildly entertained with what I'm going to share with you today. Real simple story. If you've got children, this may have happened to you. I was on a beach in Destin, Florida with 10 other families and kids running around, everyone having a great time. And a buddy of mine turned to me and said, "Hey, Sully, have you seen my daughter?" I said, "No, I haven't." But the last he had seen her, she was ankle deep in seawater, and she was looking for seashells along the beach. And of course, frantically, all the families go out and look for her. A half hour, 1 hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. 3 hours later, we found her about a mile and a half down the beach. And you can imagine the stress that we all went through. Right? It was crazy. Of course, the relief was amazing when we found her. And so, the first thing we thought while we were going through that process is she was either drowned or abducted. Both really bad outcomes. And the abduction part is very realistic because it happens. In fact, there's 58,000 children reported missing or abducted each year. And if you do the math right, that's almost 160 missing kids each day. Now, when do parents like us stress about this the most? It's when we're in crowded locations, such as beach resorts, theme parks, water parks. So I grabbed my kids together, and of course I was hugging them because I didn't lose them, but I noticed every one of them had a band on their wrist. And every parent was freaking out looking for answers on their cell phones. And I said, what if there was a way for us to know where our kids are, especially in those crowded areas? What if we were able to put a GPS and some cell technology in those bands that they're already wearing? Wouldn't it provide a stress-free vacation? And so we created what is the Kids Sport Resort cloud-based solution, which contains really 3 things. One, it's the fun, colorful, waterproof band that they can customize with little gibbets and make them really fun. And of course, you need some really cool apps to run this. And then the real secret sauce to our business is this back-end platform, because our whole business model is about recurring revenue. Sure, we love selling devices, but frankly, we're not a device company. We'll sell anyone's devices. We want them on our platform, but ultimately, we want to create stress-free fun. So let's talk about this. The Sullivan family, with my 3 kids, I check into a family resort. My kids pick out their fun and colorful Kids Sport band. Mom and Dad download the app, which of course they can set safe zones. So if that girl had gone down that beach, we would have been immediately alerted that she was out of where she should be. But, what's that worth to a parent? Now, if I asked that father, what would it have been worth for you to know where your kid was? He'd have paid $10,000 for that. We're charging $10 a day. So it's a recurring revenue platform. So if you can imagine 300 kids on a property, $10 a day, that adds up quick. Multiply that by several properties and good things happen. Now, we wanted to do a little bit more with the band to make it not only a tracker, but for some of you who've been to Disney, they invested $1 billion in the Disney Magic Band. It's a $1 billion infrastructure. But there's all these other resorts who want to be Disney. Well, they can partner with us, and we can give them everything that the Disney Magic Band, because there's RFID in here. So my little Maggie can use this as a room key, so she doesn't have to nag me for a room key. She can put some money on there so she doesn't have to say, Dad, throw me a 20 bucks. Right? So again, what's the goal? Stress-free vacation. So if you're a resort, your vacation experience that you're going to provide your people is going to be so much better than the others because you're not worrying about your children. But the added thing is you can actually, once they download the app, you're opening the window to push events and free appetizers, free cocktail, whatever it might be, you're opening that door. So the goal, again, get them on property, get them back to property, and sell more stuff while they're there. Now, the other thing is we did an Indiegogo campaign about a year ago, a very successful campaign, and we realized that, people don't only want this on vacation. Indiegogo taught us that people actually want it for when the kid's running around the neighborhood. And so we thought, boy, imagine if we can get the resorts to do a lot of great marketing for us. When you wear this thing for 7 days and you're stress-free, you're going to want to take it home with you. And then when they take it home, it won't be $10 a day. They simply set up a plan right from their same application. So we'll be getting $9.95 a month, right? So that's the goal. All right, so where are we? Well, we completed our apps first, and then our whole back-end engine, which can churn this recurring revenue. And it took a little bit longer to develop our Kids Sport product. We were about 7 months behind. So I had this really cool back-end engine that was ready for credit cards, and I didn't have a product to put on it. So I found a product over in Shenzhen, China. In fact, a company was making devices, but they don't know how to make apps. They don't know how to. They don't have relationships with Telefonica and Vodafone, all the things that we had. And so we said, you know what? Let's partner with these guys. And so they have a kids GPS cell phone, very similar to Kids Sport, except you can actually make calls for it. So I said, I'll take that to the stores. Let's try that out. Now, of course, I'm a sales guy, so what do you do when you live in Kansas City, 2.5 hours south? There's a small little chain called Walmart. So I placed a call into a Walmart buyer. I showed up with my goods, and a week later we had an agreement, and we're now in 2,000 Walmart stores. And so it was a really nice, so almost test market, right? Because again, our goal isn't to be a consumer product. Our goal is to get credit cards, and I don't really care where it comes from. In fact, I was at CES, and there was 3 companies who didn't have a back-end engine, didn't have a way to collect credit cards. I said, come on our platform. So we have such opportunity to do great things. Right now, we have 2,200 families. We've got 1.35 million in revenue, and that's a combination of device sales, but frankly, it's mostly about the credit cards. Now, I know this is difficult to see, but this is what excites me every day. Some of you in the back can see this. This is what I look at every day. When I was putting this presentation together, I wanted to see how our numbers were for that day. And here it was. This is Saturday night, 11:35, 11:31, 11:05, 11 o'clock, 10:27. Those are real credit cards going into my system. So why aren't there more credit cards? Because people don't know about it. So the reason I'm here is because I need a strategic partner to help me evangelize this. That's the goal, right? So there's 3 ways to make revenue: resorts, theme parks, recurring revenue. And we've got, again, Disney and Universal and Jumeirah over in Dubai. We're all set to do pilots with those great resorts in 6 weeks. So we're all set up on the resort side again to start those pilots, and we've got things rolling pretty good on that consumer revenue side. Now, some added things came. When you develop something over 2.5 years, the companies start reaching out to you. And so we've got some really cool IP. There's some fleet tracking companies. There's a large animal. They're talking about putting our technology on cows. Right? This whole business that came just as a result of our pretty cool technology. And so, great way to make money. So again, we're at $1.35 million. Our goal this year is to get a little over $12 million. Ultimately, the goal in 3 years is to be at $51 million. We think it's very realistic because, frankly, we're really good at selling. We're good at finding customers. We're good at closing deals. And we know we've got awesome products. Right? We're doing an offering of $3 million. We've raised 1.1 to this point, so frankly, I'm here to beg for $1.9 million so that my little Maggie, when we go on our next Disney trip, I can buy her a few more things. So on behalf of the entire Precise Selling Company, which is Maggie and my 3 kids and 2 partners, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. We now have Alpha Software.
Good afternoon. Good to be here. So we're going to tone it down a bit. This is enterprise software, not quite as exciting. I can show you pictures of my dog, who's actually our official. He has a title, Director of Sniff Testing. We get a lot of press on him. A lot of our customers want to know about him. You probably don't. Basically, our flagship product called Alpha Anyway, and we're on track to become the leading product or platform in the new emerging category called RMAD, Rapid Mobile Application Development and Deployment. What's interesting about that is Gartner is predicting that this category or subcategory is going to be 50% of the enterprise mobility market within 3 to 4 years. We started out, we went to market about 20 months ago. We've already landed companies like Accenture, Avis, TD Bank, Maersk, who love it. And they love it because it works and it's productive and it solves real-world problems for them. So let me explain what the investment thesis is and the problem that we're solving. The basic problem is that enterprise mobile apps, not the B2C stuff, the B2B, the B2E stuff, is going to represent over 50% of enterprise apps in the coming 5 to 7 years. That's the good news. And in terms of also market potential, 20 million, big number, 20 million enterprise mobile apps have to be built, according to Gartner, by 2018. The typical Fortune 1000 or Global 2000 is going to have to build between 1,700 and 3,500 apps, and yet the reality on the ground today is that the typical Global 2000 has built less than 10. So there's this huge market ahead of us. And the reason that there's been such a challenge is building mobile apps is hard. You've got small screen, you've got a higher standard for user experience, you've got real issues with offline, you've got real issues with BYOD, multiple platforms, and you've got to work offline, and you want to take advantage of all the new media types that come from the camera, video, ink, voice. And the current offerings are problematic. They're incomplete. They either deal with the front end, that's the user experience, that's the stuff you all see, which is critical. Equally critical is the back end, integration with the corporate data, which is the crown jewels, issues like security, and existing products just take too long, and they require a skill set that's in massively short supply. And they also don't deal with some of the real issues like offline and data integration. Another way of looking at the market is, and this is staggering when you think about it, 60% of workers in the world work standing up, not the people in this room, obviously, unless you all want to stand now. And that's 2.5 billion people, so this is an incredible opportunity. More interestingly, the mobile apps to take advantage and serve these people have very specific requirements. We'll get to that. These are people who work in warehouses, repair people, service people, nursing, mining, exploration, oil and gas, big market. Gartner, based on its discussions, it's not just Gartner, it's IDC, it's Forrester, all the analysts who talk to the Global 2000 have recognized this and identified this new emerging category, which they've called RMAD. Other people have different names, but it's all about there has to be a way to dramatically speed up the building of these apps. And this is a verbatim slide from Gartner. It's a little confusing, but essentially they've said, look, on the right-hand side, you've got the heavy-duty programmer-oriented products like Xamarin and Accelerator. And these are people who could program in C# and .NET, really, really skilled people. Problem is there's not enough of them. And all the really good ones want to actually be on this side of the podium presenting new ideas and new companies. And then you've got all these line of business people, smart people, power users, and entry-level people that are available. And that's who we're going after. We want to lead, and we're on track to lead in this market. And Gartner has identified us as having the ingredients to become the leader in RMAD. So the key challenges that have been identified are security, no surprise, offline security, and others. In addition, offline is identified as the most complex problem, and we've got a patent pending in that issue. Our architecture is front-end, back-end, we do it all low-code, and there's a lot more capabilities, cross-platform. I'm watching time, so I'm just going to whip through some of this. We integrate with backend. We do it all. We do it right. Specifically for the stand-up worker, we deal with ink, we deal with offline, we deal with large amounts of data, we deal with workflow and escalation issues. We're positioned the right place, productivity and power, and that's really what companies care about. We've got a management team and backers who collectively have built enterprise software companies in $300 to $500 million range. The company was largely in R&D mode until about a year ago. We started off year one with $1.5 million. This year we'll do just under $3 million. Next year we should conservatively do over $8 million. Our marginal customer acquisition cost is about $500. Each customer is worth $1,500 minimum per year, plus more as they develop more and more applications. And we're here raising somewhere in the $6 to $8 million to build up sales and marketing. So I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry I don't have any more dog stories or children's stories, but thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we now have WINR game.
Hey everyone, my name is Jeremy Zuckerman, coming to you all the way from Toronto, Canada. And I am the founder of Winner Games, the development company behind Big Time, the only app where you can win cash playing free games on your phone. Pretty good, eh? So first I'm going to take you through the market and talk what we're integrating. Then I'll tell you about the platform, our progress to date, the revenue streams and how it's going, and who we are and what our vision for the future is, and what we're looking for. So everyone knows that mobile gaming is massive and only getting bigger. And what people primarily are doing on their phones is gaming. People on average spend 50 minutes a day gaming on their phones these days. Pretty crazy. And web-based casual gaming is a proven market in the past. A company called Fun Technologies out of Canada actually built themselves up to 30 million users and then sold for $500 million back in 2007. And now they've been integrated into the Game Show Network. So a proven business model, but they both have major issues to be resolved so far. Gaming is inherently volatile with being a one-hit wonder type of industry. And online casual gaming has not made its way into mobile yet, really. So what we're saying is that we can integrate the best of both these markets and resolve these underlying issues with our platform, Big Time. So what we've created is a simple gaming platform that keeps users engaged and playing the games as long as possible through successive increasing contests. So the first user starts playing for a certain prize dollars. As more and more users come in and we gain scale, those prize dollars can increase. All our cash prizes are funded through the in-app advertising revenue. There's two key differentiations to Big Time. One, we have multiple game mechanics in this one app. So you download the app and you have 15 different games to choose from. As well, then it's integrated with these contest-based incentives. So as you're playing the games, you earn tickets, and each of those tickets is an entry in our frequent cash prize draws. Everyone always asks this question, why is this not gambling? Basically, there are three things that have to happen at the same time for it to be considered gambling. There has to be a prize, an element of chance, and you have to put money into the system. Basically, what we're taking out is the dollars into the system. Our app is 100% free to download and play. So how it actually works, you download the app, you start up a game, you earn tickets, and each of those tickets represents an entry in the draw. So after the set time frame, you pick one ticket out of the hat, and that person wins a few $100, a few $1,000. We've done weekly draws, we've done daily draws, we're switching it up, trying to figure out what works. Users who commit more time to the app have a higher chance of winning. The more you play, the more tickets you earn, the higher your chance of winning the dollars. The types of games that we have integrated, what we want to be is a fast follower on top of the popular mechanics. The mechanics of games these days can't actually be copyrighted. You can copyright the art and the visuals and the sound, but the mechanics themselves can't actually be copyrighted. So we're going to take those hot mechanics, the popular mechanics, reskin them, retheme them into our platform, and then what we're saying is given two games with similar mechanics, why wouldn't you choose ours where at least you have a chance to win dollars? As well, we obviously need to have big loyalty mechanics, and so we've integrated a bank where you can save up your tickets as well as experience points so you can get free boosters as you advance through the system. So our progress to date. A year ago, this was just design and PowerPoint, basically made by me. I developed a team, and in 4 months, we launched our MVP, as you can see there. And then over the past few months, we've been iterating and making it bigger, stronger, and better. We've had over 70,000 registrations to date. Users have downloaded this app and loving it. This has all been working on our user acquisition strategy. Really, we would call this a soft launch so far. No big marketing dollars have been put into it. We reached number 4 overall free app in the Canadian App Store, up there with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. We were the number 1 games in the free section and number 1 arcade game for about a week. User response has been overwhelmingly positive. We've had thousands of reviews, all basically saying the same thing. Why am I playing anything else? This game is 99.99% better than all other games because they pay you to play. 15 games developed, $20,000 to individual winners. When you win, we ask you to send us a selfie. We throw you in the app, and then everyone can see the winner from that day. That's me, front page of the biggest Canadian publication of the business, Globe and Mail. Gaining media attention. We're pioneering a new model, a new monetization model in gaming, free to win. So there's two ways that we actually make money today. There's interstitials and banner ads, and then there's also video ads. So that's how we're making money. Over a sample week, we had 4,200 daily active users, and we made $640. That's 15 cents per daily active user. You can see on the right-hand side with 100,000 daily active users, that's $15,000 a week. So we can cover our operating expenses and pay out some pretty big dollars when we gain scale. Team, great team. Myself, pretty good. And then our CTO, Mehdi, he, in 2 years, over the past 2 years, he worked on some gambling platform and launched it to IPO, and then has also worked in trading platforms. There's a big security aspect to this as well. And then our front-end developer is doing a great job. We're in contact with Apple, and what they're saying is that this free-to-win model is very interesting and unique. They gave us a few points of feedback, and we're working on that today to try and get featured by Apple. The real vision and the goal for this is while we have the platform in the middle today, we've built the back end. And the back end can then be implemented across single game apps. What we want to do is diversify across hundreds of different games, all connected through the same contest. So any of our games that you're playing, you can win money. You get tired of that game, you'll find another game within our platform. We raised $700,000 a year ago, and today we're looking for a few $100,000 more to really get ourselves to this product market fit where we can get the organic traction to take off. We're building the first diversified and differentiated, scalable, and sustainable mobile gaming platform. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Next is Omni Speech.
Hello, everyone. I am really excited to talk to all of you today because you're the perfect audience. All of you use mobile devices, and all of you at one time or another have had trouble communicating across that device because of noise. And we've solved that problem. Let me demonstrate. What you're going to hear is someone trying to have a conversation across their phone, but the listener at the other end cannot hear them because of traffic noise. So then they turn our technology, OmniClear, on, and you'll hear the difference.
Hi. Sorry I'm running late for dinner. Nice to get to you. I'm stuck in traffic. Oh, you can't hear me? How about now? I just turned OmniClear on. I'll be at the restaurant 45 minutes.
Okay, so OmniClear is a speech enhancement algorithm that, unlike other solutions, focuses on the speech and pulls the speech out of noise. Your smartphones here in the US all use 2 and 3 microphones in order to reduce speech. You have the speech that's going into the microphone that's closest to your mouth, and then if there's noise, the noise is being picked up by the microphone at the other end and on the back side of the phone. They compare those 2 signals. If they're different, they know there's noises present. They model the noise, subtract the noise from the signal that went into this microphone to reduce the noise. We, on the other hand, only need 1 signal because we know what's unique about speech, and we go in, find that speech, and we pull it out. So we have a very novel approach, and as a result, we only need the 1 microphone. Also, these 2 and 3 mic solutions require an extra chip that's dedicated to the processing to be in the phone. So they're more expensive and they're taking up architecture. We, on the other hand, have a totally software-only solution that can fit on the chip that's already in your phone. So we're much cheaper as a result. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm Carol S.B. Wilson. I'm a professor in the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at the University of Maryland. I am also the CEO and founder of OmniSpeech, where we're translating OmniClear, which is developed out of my research program. I'm also the first African-American woman to get a PhD from MIT in electrical engineering. And I've known since I was in pigtails that I would do something in science and math. And it was at MIT where I decided to focus on digital speech processing, which was not only an engineering approach, but a very scientific approach. So we understand all about speech production. What does that mean in terms of the signal? What properties of the signal we need in order to perceive speech, and then how to go in and pull that information out. So all of that has gone into the development of this technology. Being a single microphone solution gives us a lot of flexibility, broad application. So our goal, every phone, every hearing aid, every car, every computer in the world. These are all the devices that we can be in, all the different mobile devices down the road in hearing aids. We're already doing in trials with Viber for voice over IP. We're in trials with a company that's doing mobile dictation because we can improve the performance of speech recognition systems, given we're pulling speech out of noise. We can control appliances with speech or sit out in the cloud and improve any speech-enabled application. We solve the problem on both ends, and that's also something that our competitors cannot do. We've gone into an independent lab and had ourselves tested against 3 flagship smartphones that all use 2 and 3 microphones, and against a smartwatch that came out in Q4 of last year, which was single mic but hardware-based. And as you can see, we are either on par with these 2 and 3 mic solutions or better in speakerphone mode, for example. And we way outperform the smartwatch. We have a large primary target market, 1.8 billion devices forecasted for 2018. Our addressable market, 1.3 billion devices. The mid-tier smartphones that are between 100 and 300, shown here in blue, is a sweet spot for us because there the bill of materials is very important, and we lower the cost. So with our single microphone, software-only solution, we can reduce the bill of cost by somewhere between $2 and $3. Wearables is also a prime market for us because in wearables, you can only benefit from 1 microphone. The devices are too small, so you can't get a benefit of a second microphone. Oh, and that market is growing 25 to 30% in the emerging markets. We need to deal with the chipset manufacturers. We're in trials now with HiSilicon. In this case, the business model is a royalty per device. The carriers and the handset manufacturers are influencers in that space. For the speech recognition and VoIP platform providers, the business model is a one-time fee where you have annual maintenance. And these are some of the companies that we're currently in trials with or talking to. Given the traction that we've had, we're projecting that we'll be at over $41 million in 2019. Half of our money has been non-dilutive, and it's been used primarily to get the technology optimized, take research clunky code that ran on parallel machines, and get it so it can fit in a very small device. And I'd like to give a shout out to NSF if they're present, because those tax dollars have been used to support us greatly. We're raising $5 million, no longer to develop the technology, but at this point to get it to go to market. So we want to build our business team. We've already identified a business team that could be on the ground for us in Asia, and we want to bring on more marketing and sales, primarily. We have a great team of engineers, sophisticated, with a lot of experience, and a great business advisors who have a lot of business acumen. They've been serial entrepreneurs and VCs. So, guys, if you haven't noticed, I'm not a guy. I am African American, so if you're looking to diversify, but you want a great technology and you want a great market, here I am. I look forward to talking to you.
Okay. I Fit You.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isabel, and I'm the founder and CEO of iFitYou. We are based in Zurich, Switzerland, and we also have an office in the States since founding. Imagine yourself in a store that only has clothes in your size. Well, we all know that in reality, this is different. Clothing size is a guessing game. The size of the sizing problem is significant. Today, only 10% of global fashion is sold online. Our research confirms that the main reason why people do not order online is that there is the fear of finding the right size. With 2.3 billion mobile broadband subscribers increasingly using their smartphones while shopping, the size of this problem will only get bigger. Sessions in fashion apps have increased by 174% last year. This is the largest increase in any industry. Sizing is costing online retailers millions in returns. I take an example, Zalando, which is Europe's largest online store, has more than 50% returns. iFitYou gives instant sizing recommendations to the user in all clothing brands. It becomes your indispensable tool to shop. Let me show you how version 1 of our app works. Click on the iFitYou app and you create a profile. Enter your name, the age, the weight, the height, and since Maria is a woman, her bust size. Now get her size in any brand you wish. Let's choose, for example, Lacoste. Now you get all the garment sizing recommendations in Lacoste and you can edit each one of them with your preferred fit. To become the leader globally in M fashion, we are focusing on 3 areas. Giving the sizing recommendations to the user, global online sales available on the app, of course, tagging and buying instantly in your size. We are the first ones and only ones so far offering multi-profile. So, as you know, women control 65% of global spending and more than 80% in your country, the US. As well, American women in the household make up to 91% of home purchases. When women purchase, they are holistic thinkers in their process. They also control the blogosphere, which means that when they connect, they engage, they embrace, and they rule the internet. But we will also nevertheless have men fashion on our platform and equal efforts to go to market with the men. So how do we get the sizing right? Well, we integrate a statistical database of more than 200,000 body measurements, sizing from the brands, and user-generated content. So we are the only sizing solution in the world having those features combined in our algorithms to give the user a good sizing recommendation. That is what we call personalized fit technology with Swiss precision. So this is our business model. So we have 3 revenue streams. The first one is when a user shops via the app, we get commission. So for example, I'm buying a dress on iFitYou app at Net-a-Porter for $350. I'm making $45 in commission. Our app is also a personalized advertising channel targeting shoppers. So the big data we haven't accounted. Those are the brands that we already have relationships to and we will have on our app. We are launching next week in Germany and the UK, followed by the US market. We are different. Why are we different? We are consumer focused. We have an exceptional algorithm combining those features I told you about. And the user has his sizing in his pocket at all times. In store and online, he can shop in the right size. I have an exceptional team on board. They have multiple IPOs and trade sale experience. We will generate revenues in the second half of this year. We have already tested and validated our sizing and integrated the shopping. So we are looking to raise $2 million for our go-to-market efforts to start scaling, and of course some further developments like including children and plus sizes. I thank you very much for your time and your interest.
For this room?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That wraps it up for round 3 of company presentations in the technology track. For those that have judging forms, I'd like to ask you to please bring them up to the front registration table. You can actually drop them off right here by our laptop. We're going to have our panel session start in a brief moment. In this room, we have a panel titled Fundable Deals, Making VC Sit Up and Take Notice. In room number 1, we have a panel that's going to start in about 5 minutes called Fueling Capital for Clean Tech. And in room number 6, we have an EdTech VC panel. Can we invite our VC panelists to come into this room? They're standing right outside. Do we have the speakers on over there outside? Thank you. Following this panel session, we'll then have a networking session in the Sponsors Lounge, which will then be followed by another 2 concurrent VC panels. Those include the art of negotiating term sheets, which will be in this room, and our corporate VC panel, which will be in room number 1. Following those panels, we'll then have closing remarks in this room with awards for best presenters in each of the tracks based again on the judging forms that we received, and also raffle for 3 men on.
Sure. I can keep them safe.
Do you want me to bring it over there? I can bring it over there.
Okay. No, it's okay. Go.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
A big thank you to all of our investor judges. Please join me in thanking them for their support of today's program and contributing to the program. Yep, I have it right here. Thank you very much. I have it. Can everyone please take their seats, all of our speakers for this panel session? Obi, can you grab our speakers in?
Joe, can I talk to you for a second? Okay, so either I can only get him, the panel.
Maybe you can sit there for a moment.
Okay, I can try. Let's try this. I'm gonna try sitting it here. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Does it work? Can you
It's
see
on,
it?
yeah.
Yeah? Okay, now I'm gonna...
Don't you have any, like, tape?
We can get the rest of our panelists up on stage. That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Maybe just move it a little that way.
Like that.
Yeah, no, it's hard to see, but I'm
Jillian here.
First of all, you can see my microphone.
Okay, welcome back. This panel, as I mentioned, is Fundable Deals Making VC Sit Up and Take Notice. Our moderator for the session, is Sean Blusky, who's a partner at Shepherd Mullen. Sean is a longtime sponsor of the New York Venture Summit, and please join me in thanking him and Shepherd Mullen for supporting the program and their participation. Thank you very much, Sean. As I mentioned, he's a partner in the corporate practice group in the firm's New York office. He's a co-leader of the firm's corporate and securities practice group and co-chair of the lateral partner recruiting for the New York office. Sean focuses his practice on private equity, mergers and acquisitions, debt restructurings, and venture capital. He's completed over 100 equity and debt financing transactions. He has represented clients in transactions ranging from startup financings to billion-dollar acquisitions, and has counseled companies in diverse industries such as software, internet infrastructure, applications and services, telecommunications, wireless technologies, biotechnology, manufacturing, apparel, medical devices, healthcare, and transportation. Sean?
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm going to do a quick, have the panelists introduce themselves quickly, and then we can sort of jump into the substance. So, Michael Boschhammer from T Ventures. Michael, maybe speak a little bit about about your firm and kind of deals you're looking for.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Like you said, so my name is Michael Boschhammer. I'm the managing director of T Venture. T Venture is the venture capital arm of Deutsche Telekom. Most of you maybe don't know Deutsche Telekom, but most of you probably know T-Mobile. So because that's a brand which is well known here in the US. But as I said, so T-Mobile is a subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom. So with roughly 250,000 employees worldwide, Deutsche Telekom is quite big. And that means also for us as a venture arm of Deutsche Telekom that we are not just focusing on wireless-related business or investments, but also on fixed line, on consumer as well as on enterprise-related companies, and for sure also on core telco stuff. So we have roughly 100 companies under management at the moment. So we're investing worldwide. Roughly 55% of our portfolio are currently based in the US, on the West Coast and here on the East Coast. We have also people grounded in San Francisco, so we have offices there. And the rest we're covering by our headquarters in Germany, in Bonn. So, and doing also investment there for the European market as well as for Israel.
Thanks. Jonathan Drillings is next, and he's a principal at Comcast Ventures.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Sean. So I guess my speech might sound a little similar, although maybe a little bit more US-centric. So we're the venture arm for Comcast and NBC Universal, so the large media conglomerate here in the US. We've got offices in New York and San Francisco. I'm based here just up Broadway, about a mile or so in Soho. We invest pretty broadly across the US in media and technology. It doesn't have to be related to Comcast, but we like to invest behind platforms where we can provide unique advantage being Comcast and NBCU. That could be with just information exchange and knowledge capture. That could be in enterprise software where we can drive significant sales across all of the brand, into the parks or even into some of the sports assets that we own. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. If we have a good fit and there's a good opportunity for financial return, we'll invest. So there's probably about 20 or 25 of us on our team, again, between New York and San Francisco.
Terrific. Rami Alkitab, who is the general partner of Acero Capital.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Acero Capital, we are a relatively new firm. We're investing out of our inaugural fund based in Menlo Park, California. It's a single GP fund, and we began investing in 2011. It's a $150 million fund focused on early-stage business software. So our sweet spot is Series A, Series B deals in areas like, the plan is to make about 20 investments. We're about to close on our 10th, so almost halfway through. So just to kind of give you an idea in the sectors where we're investing, we recently closed an investment in the cybersecurity space. We have an investment in real-time analytics for the purpose of fraud detection. We have an investment in data center infrastructure. So really our approach is to map out where we think the enterprise is going to be focused on in the next 3 to 5 years and make investments in those areas.
Terrific, thanks. Next is Jenny Lefcourt, who's a partner with Freestyle Capital. I think was in your shoes not so long ago.
Exactly. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jenny Lefcourt, and Freestyle Capital, we're San Francisco based. We're a seed stage fund. So we're in our Fund 3, $60 million fund. We typically, the names keep changing, so just to keep it simple, for us, seed means that there's a team and there's some early traction, but obviously not going through the roof. And our entrepreneurs on average are raising, call it $2 to $3 million. We're usually leading with about a $700K check. Now, obviously, all those rules are, can be broken, but that's a typical investment for us. There are 3 of us who invest, and we are all entrepreneurs, living vicariously through our portfolio companies. And our fund is 50% B2B, 50% B2C. For the most part, industry agnostic. Right now, particularly interested in a couple things. One is the infrastructure for the new economies. Actually, I got to meet a gentleman outside who was working on something in that space. Or I'm also personally very intrigued with how brands will communicate with consumers in the future, and potentially the role that artificial intelligence will play in that.
Terrific. Next is Jillian Manis, who is the founder of Structure Capital.
Hi, Structure Capital. We consider ourselves the architects of the zero-waste economy, as our thesis is underutilized capacity and excess assets. We were the first investors into Uber. We invest into spaces, underutilized spaces, possessions, marketplace skills. We are on our second fund right now. We're out of the Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and Palo Alto offices. We are B2B, B2C, average check sizes. The first check size is about 500,000, and then we do seed and Series A. So we go up to $1 million, then $3 million. We are very interested in sort of the sharing economy. We are a subset of the sharing economy. I've seen some amazing, from plane tickets to underutilized gift cards to trucks to cars to, think of it in a very broad sense. We feel we have a very big social responsibility to do better with what we have by applying technology.
Terrific. And finally, Lisa Wu, who's a vice president for Norwest Venture Partners.
Hey guys, I'm Lisa. I work at Norwest Venture Partners. We have been around for over 50 years. We're investing out of our 12th fund, which is a $1.2 billion fund. I would say that we have 3 axes of diversification. One is by geography. So we're headquartered in Palo Alto. We have offices in San Francisco. I run our New York office. We have 2 offices in India, 1 in Israel, 1 in China. Also by stage. So we write anywhere from a seed check to a couple of $100,000 to as large as 100 million growth equity checks. And by industry. So we're just really looking for smart teams building disruptive products in large markets. And so this can range anywhere from infrastructure to software as a service to consumer, including marketplaces. But yeah, across the gamut.
Thanks. So with all of these introductions and everybody talking about what their fund looks at, fundamentally, most of you, if not all of you, are in this room because you're looking for funding or are in the space or trying to figure the world of funding out. And it is not self-evident and it is not clear. There's a lot of mystery and weird words and concepts. And so the point of the panel is to try to get you some guidance on what you need to look like or what you should look like. And there's no one right answer, but what you need to look like in order to actually get these guys to part with their money, write a check, commit their time and their energy and their resources into helping you guys build a business. So that's the pretext or the context of the discussion. So let me pose a hypothetical for you, and then with that as backdrop, we'll sort of tee up a couple of questions for everybody. So assume we're talking about an existing company. They've got a few key members of the management team. It's not one guy with an idea, but they've already built three or four folks. They've identified a market need, so they haven't just sat down at a table and said, what can we build? They've seen a spot in the market where they can play and they can be interesting. They built some technology to answer that market need, and maybe they've got some revenue or no revenue, but some significant proof of concept. And let's assume they've either bootstrapped it or have raised, $500,000 to $1 million of friends and family and angel funding. So that's where this hypothetical company sits. I don't know how many of you guys look like that or are hoping to look like that, but that tends to be where you start saying, well, how can we get this institutional money? So with all that as backdrop. So first question for maybe Jillian. So the market's crowded, right? How do these guys find you, right? You're busy. Your VCs that I know are never in one place. They're always on a plane. They're literally never in the office. They're always on the way to a board meeting somewhere, most of the time. So how do they find you? How do they get in front of you?
I think all of us know it's mostly from either founders. You can't hear me. I usually have the loudest voice in the room. So a lot of our deal flow comes from founders, from word of mouth. That's first. Second is co-investors. We invest a lot with the whole Sandhill Road. We founders fund Andreessen, Sequoia, Major Mayfield, all of us, and Freestyle, and actually Comcast, and so we get a lot of deal flow from them. But also, someone said yesterday, and it was actually very astute, is instead of just going cold to us, try to find someone, go to LinkedIn, see what our companies are, see who our affiliations are, mutual friends, and come in through that door, because I think of familiarity, it's very important here. It's not just don't throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Find someone who can actually create a little bit of a stickiness beforehand.
So how important is that? If anybody else wants to answer or answer.
I'd say it's really important. So I've been in venture now for almost 9 years, and I can't even remember once that we funded a deal that came in just through our website. Like, we check it every day, but it doesn't even come off the top of my head. So I definitely think the best way to get in is through a warm intro for someone else.
I just had, maybe this is getting into the minutiae and the risk of being too obvious, but I actually see a lot of people who don't do it. Before you go out fundraising, just put together a spreadsheet. Spend some time thinking about which are the 20 firms that you want to talk to, and build your spreadsheet by asking the question of which are the firms that invest in my stage, that invest in my sector, and that don't have a competitive investment to me. I just couldn't tell you the number of times that we've been approached for, a Series C round or a growth equity round, and we just don't participate in those stages. So doing the upfront work to prepare that spreadsheet and then going on LinkedIn to see who can introduce you to each one of those two firms. It sounds really simple. I'm always shocked at how few people do that.
Maybe I want to add to that, I've made the same experience, and what I'm saying always is that I hope that the startups are approaching us like they're approaching their own customers. So otherwise, if they don't do their homework and if they don't know exactly to whom they are talking and why do they think that we are the right investor for them, so then they are the wrong company or the wrong startup for us.
So not to be discouraging to anybody, because that's not the point of this, but I know you all probably keep analytics on how many business plans are submitted versus how many meetings you do versus how many checks you actually write. Do you guys have any of that data that you can show? Again, not to, when I hear that data from some of my clients, it always shocks me the number of a number of investments they actually look at or spend some time with, and then they'll write, 3 checks a year, 4 checks a year. So at least, is there any context that anyone wants to give on that?
It depends what type of fund, I think. If it's a seed fund, we have 54 companies in our portfolio. So we have no broader. There are some funds, and I'm sure some right here, that do more like 12 at a higher level. So it really depends what type of fund you have. I would say for ours, lots and a little. We see lots and we write checks for a little.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just add that, for us, where we're kind of investing in the classic Series A, B, and up, we're writing pretty big checks. It's kind of 2, maybe 3 per partner per year. It winds up being in the low single digits, the really low single digits, in terms of the number of companies you meet to the number that you invest in. Now, if you kind of pare that back and you say the number that you really dig in on and work with, and there's a fit there, it's probably more like 10 or 15%. So the numbers actually look better if you actually, work with a VC that is kind of in the right range for you,
right.
Which goes back to the last question.
Well, it reinforces the point that trying to find the VCs that are in your sector is hugely important, so you're not wasting your time and discouraging you if you send out 30 decks or 30 business plans and nobody responds. You might not be hitting the right segment of the population.
Can I just do one thought,
Sure, of course.
Rich, for this conference? Because I do go to conferences, and we have YCOM, which is on the West Coast, well, all over. There's 500 startups. There's this one, Young Startup. I actually think I might have found a company here. And so I think that this is worth your time and effort. It also creates discipline around how to pitch, how to present, how to introduce yourself to potential investors. I think this is a very worthwhile exercise, regardless of whether you raise funds or not.
Terrific. So let's say you get the business plan, you flip it open, you grab it for a plane ride, whatever. What are you looking for in the business plan? What's the precursor to actually a meeting or reaching out back to the entrepreneurs? Anybody want to start?
Okay. So, one is just at the highest level that fit. So it needs to be something that I'm interested in, or that I think one of my colleagues are interested in, and if it's them, then I'll pass it off to them and have them make that judgment. It needs to be a company in the right stage, so for us, kind of Series A plus. I'd say the biggest thing, though, once you get beyond that, is seeing a formed team, a well-formed team that understands their market. And that is from a couple different dimensions. So it's one, where's the problem set that they're solving, and how they're going to go about addressing that. 2, it's the competition. And 3, it's kind of how they want to build and structure their organization to address that market opportunity. So, that could be, is this a freemium transaction and an inside sales organization? Is it an enterprise sales organization? How do we want to capitalize this? Sometimes a huge venture financing is the right thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you should be going out and looking for debt. Sometimes you should be customer funding. So all of those factors fit in, but it's really kind of understanding the fundamentals of your market opportunity.
And I would just add to that, one of the things we look at, which is really important to us, is how big this market is. And sort of builds on, should this be venture-backed? And so a lot of times we get pick something really smart by really smart people, but if the market isn't big enough to sort of make it a venture-backed business, that often shows that it's not a fit for us. So it's part market, part team, part traction that we look for to make sure it makes sense to even meet.
So if these aren't, not to answer my own question, but if these aren't, you can't see a $250, $500 million opportunity out of this. Again, not that everybody exits at those levels. That would be terrific if they did. But if you can't see a company getting to that level, is it just a shutdown non-starter for you, or singles and doubles okay too?
I think it depends on the size of the fund, because at a $1.2 billion fund, we have to meet certain thresholds, right? Because we want to put more dollars to work. So in order to return a $1.2 billion fund, it's much different than, say, a $100 million fund. I guess on what everyone's saying, and this is probably going to be repetitive, but I would say that whenever I look at investment, there's certain categories of risk that VCs look at, right? There's management team, there's the market opportunity, there's competition, there's capital risk, there's the business model. And I would say that the ones that at least I probably attune to more is going to be around the management team, and does like the CEO have good judgment? The market size, like everyone mentioned, just because you can't hit a addressable market that's interesting to us, it's probably going to be a low likelihood that we'll engage further, as well as competitive risk and capital risk. Those are probably the four that I particularly focus in on.
So moving on to the next thing, and it goes to team, which is fundamental, right? If the team's not there, nobody's writing a check into the thin air. So in terms of, venture's been going on for 40 years plus, right? And there's a lot of second and third time founders that have hit the home runs before. So how important is it that the team has been there, or some portion of the team has been there before, understands what it's like to raise capital, exit a company, work with VCs, work with a board, have oversight? Is that fundamental to judgment? Is it a big plus, irrelevant? How do you guys look at that?
I'll answer this from the perspective of an early stage investor, in the sense that, let's say we're looking to do a Series A. Sure, if we can do it with someone who's already had, an IPO and a couple of M&A exits at, multi-$100 million, that's fantastic. But we certainly work with first-time CEOs. So that's not, being a first-time CEO is totally fine. But what we look for is two things. One is the team has to be adaptable and flexible. There are CEOs whom you meet who are first-time CEOs, and it's clear in our judgment that this CEO is going to be able to get the company to the next level, maybe call it the Series B, but it's probably not someone who's going to scale. Maybe on his second or third try he will scale. So we look for teams who are flexible to understand that that is the case and are open to continuing to build the management team. So at least from our perspective, a lot of times the deal breaker is our judgment that the CEO is not going to be fine with that. And then the second thing we look for, which I kind of already implied, is even with a flexible team, you have to make sure that the team you have now is able to get you to that next stage that you're looking for, which again, for a Series A company would be Series B.
Can I,
Sure.
So a piece of data that I recently heard that I loved is that being a serial entrepreneur is actually not correlated to success for that company getting to Series A and Series B. So what I mean by that is sort of being young or ignorant or a combination of the two isn't a bad thing. If you have a vision and you are resilient and you are smart and you can lead, your chances of success are as good as the next woman or the next guy who has done it before. Now, building on your point, though, there may be a time where it gets to a point where you should bring in someone who's been there, done it, but it's not at the stage of the early startup.
Okay.
Many of the startups, especially out of Silicon Valley, are engineers. Those are the founders. And so they really don't have the business acumen. They have technology sense, and that's one, but they will acquire that. And it's our, sort of our mandate as an early investor to really be a good partner to be able to navigate and create a roadmap and create a team that will be able to balance out with his areas of expertise with other ones. And so I've seen more engineers as founders than anything else. And it's certainly, it's certainly fantastic to have that central point first.
I'll say that we also internally looked at, because we had this question too, or does being a repeat executive make you more successful? And we took a deep dive on this, and what we found was, in particular, the consumer space, we didn't find any correlation, probably because you need that little naivety, and plus these 20-something-year-olds get the product market fit much more than probably someone who's a little older. And so, if anything, we found that in the consumer space for sure. So.
Can I just say one thing about the founders? The one thing that we do look for with a great leader or founder are they able to inspire? Are they able to inspire a team? Are they able to inspire a consumer? That's really, really critical. We look for, obviously, integrity. We look for humility, actually, in our founders in case they do have to pivot. And they are open to constructive criticism. We get to know our founders, and especially at seed and early stage, as really, we get to know the people, not only the product. And I think that's critical when you're investing at this stage.
Sure. Let's do this question quick because we're going to kind of jam up on time, which always happens, right? You set up 9 questions, you get those 6. in one sentence or less, maybe just go through the panel, like where you guys see the venture world going in terms of the hottest sectors, where the most money is going to pile into over the next year or two. It might not be what your fund is focused on, but where do you think the biggest upside or opportunity is right now? Michael, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I think it would be too easy just to use all the buzzwords you all know. So starting with cloud, with virtualization and Internet of Things and all this stuff. So it really relates to, okay, what's going on in the market, and that means finally that business models are changing and industries are changing, and therefore you have, as an investor, to look at this and to decide what's at the moment for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, the most value-driving investment.
Jonathan?
I guess that's one of the fundamental questions of our job. You know, I think personally we're going to see a broadening of companies attacking the enterprise ecosystem across a widening base of industries. So, you know, we're starting to see fintech. You know, I was talking with another investor earlier about ag tech. You know, I think as more and more data starts to come online, sensors start to grow. We get to pull in that data. We can leverage the cloud to actually compute against that data. You can push to mobile devices to people that are in the field, use the sensors to pull in further data. I think we're just going to keep seeing a broadening of software across the enterprise ecosystem.
I'll answer this from, again, my perspective. We only do enterprise, we only do software. So within that universe, I really like the security space. From our perspective, the technology stack has been completely reinvented in the past 7 to 8 years. And we are sort of going through a cycle where the bad guys are ahead of the good guys, and we believe that there is a rethinking of how do you approach security, enterprise security, that's going to continue to be exciting in the next few years.
Jenny?
So at the chance of stating the obvious, I think mobile is just huge. Many of us have multiple mobile devices. We're out on the go. We're not sitting in front of a computer for 12 hours a day. In the developing world, a lot of people live their lives by their handheld computer, being their mobile phone, mobile device, and everything is digital, right? Their currency is digital. So I think, and they don't even have desktops. So I think there's going to be a lot of user experiences that can be brought via mobile that we haven't seen yet.
I would say probably computational linguistics would be that. It's machine learning, social media, analytics, predictives, especially modeling in the financial industry. I think that this collection of data and how it's applied, how it's used, how it's analyzed, I think that's going to be a very big area of investment.
I think we're going to continue to see innovation in marketplaces. We've already seen them now. And marketplaces are just platforms that connect, that don't have inventory, and they connect buyers who have it to sellers who want it, right? And we're already seeing a movement from these like horizontal listing marketplaces like Craigslist to these vertical transactional marketplaces. And why VCs really like them is because even though there's kind of low barriers to entry, it's really difficult to get started. But once you get started, you have something called network effects that occur that make them really defensible. And that's why you see them get real, like in the public markets, they have these huge premiums. So I think we're going to continue to see disruption across almost every industry of marketplaces forming. You guys already know with Uber, transportation, Airbnb with hotels, you know, Grubhub with food, and we'll still see dollars flowing into there.
Great. So let's talk about, so now you've gotten past some of these key drivers, right? The team, some market needs, some massive $500 million to $1 billion opportunity, et cetera. And now you want to have the meeting. So you invite the VCs in, the entrepreneurs in for the pitch meeting. A lot of people here haven't been to one of those. Does anyone want to sort of set, maybe Jenny, I think you want to sort of set the stage for what that actually feels like, how that goes, whether the PowerPoint's important, not important, the deck, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so my biggest advice to you when you do get that first meeting is your job of meeting one is to leave them interested and excited and that you get a meeting two. it is not the time to tell the person on the other side of the table everything you know about your industry. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are very proud, right, of everything they do know, and they want to show that. Let the business sort of excite them and stay incredibly high. So my, being a bit prescriptive here, I would say your job is to show a really big market and that it has a problem, and a painful problem, and that there's a solution or there's an opportunity, and that's exactly what you're building, that you're the team to build it. When you look at the competitive landscape, there's sort of no one doing it this way, or no one, you're uniquely positioned to do that. And you have to walk this fine line of painting a really big vision, but also showing that you understand that you know what it takes to get from here to there to have the opportunity to take advantage of that bigger vision. And so my advice to you is don't get mired into every last detail. You can have as many appendix slides as you desire. So if they ask question A, you have to answer the question A. B, you have to answer the question B. But stay high, see what they're excited about, and then answer the questions as they come. Because a lot of times entrepreneurs, being with all the best intentions, tell us so much information that when they leave, you more have a headache, to be totally honest, than you are excited about the business that they're building. And it's really hard. I've been you many times, and it's hard because you want to share every last detail, but your job is to not do that and to just leave them wanting more.
Anybody else want to pick that question up?
This may be obvious, but again, especially for people who are, pitching formally for the first time, I think it's incredibly important for you to show an incredible level of confidence in what you're doing. That is not the meeting to be getting advice. Go out to a coffee with someone if you want to get advice or if you're not certain about how to approach the market. Building, especially again, I'm adding the early stage perspective. Building a company from scratch, making it successful is extremely hard, but you should have so much conviction in what you're doing that in your mind it shouldn't be hard at all, and you should be able to communicate that.
I also like keeping your story simple, because I often find that if it's really complicated, I'm like, how do you even sell this to customers, right? And so just keep your story streamlined and simple. And regarding the PowerPoint, I personally like PowerPoint just because it's a really easy way to start telling the story of what you're selling and building. So.
How far do you usually get before the entrepreneur's off script? How far into the meeting do you usually get before the entrepreneur is off his script in terms of the PowerPoint? I always find that they get through page one and then the questions start and then the conversation goes sideways and the PowerPoint becomes sort of irrelevant.
Well, at least for our firm, you typically have an hour when you pitch to kind of our team, and so we understand that you have a deck, and so we'll try to shuffle the time too, but we often ask questions from the very beginning as well. So.
I will just add on that if you are telling your story and you're getting asked a bunch of questions, your job is to answer the question and then move it back to your own agenda. I've seen many times that entrepreneurs are getting asked question after question. You may spend your half an hour to an hour answering the VC's question, and you leave, and they're not yet sold on the business because you didn't get your main points across. So it's challenging because if a VC asks a question and you say, I'm not going to answer that because I want to tell you this, that also won't fly. So I often so once again, the balancing act, I often, in the past, when I would coach entrepreneurs on pitching, I'd say, your job is to answer the question and then bring it right back to your agenda, whether or not you have a pitch deck or not.
I always say there is, someone was saying today that your first seconds when you walk in and when your first words out of your mouth are really critical. And I cannot tell you that is absolutely true. I always say there's a movie called Jerry Maguire, and it's the saying is, you hand me a hello, right? Well, I say we train our entrepreneurs that you have to have us at hello. So at the very, very beginning, you have to make a statement, and it's a statement with your body language, it's your statement with your presentation, it's your statement with what your strongest point is of your company. You have to have them at hello. And then the rest will really follow and open it up as we've all been talking.
Okay. Jenny stole some of the next question a little bit by saying don't cut off the VCs when they're talking, or make sure you answer them and are respectful. But what other mistakes do people make in that room? Like how else do you blow themselves up? this could be probably an hour panel.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the things that I really, really abhor is when an entrepreneur says, "Well, we're closing right away. We're raising this, but we're going to close tomorrow." And that really drives me to drink, because that's absolutely ridiculous. You're there, act like a professional. Don't tell me that you're going to. And by the way, don't embellish, really, because we'll hear it, we'll know it, we'll remember it. So try not to play that harder than send an email saying it was lovely to meet you. We're going to close on Monday. Don't do that because we're going to be oversubscribed. Never do that. Never do that.
It's a waste of time, right? You've got to call capital, you've got credit committees, you've got documents.
It's so disrespectful.
But I will say, I agree
But-
with that.
okay, there's a flip
but
side, the
the
Wild
empathy
West.
is for you all is that your job is to keep momentum.
Yes.
And so you can meet with VCs, very interesting, and then they disappear on you, right? So you have to once again the balancing act. Don't do that. That is true. When someone's like, I already have a couple term sheets, why are you talking to me? Like that, I don't move that quickly. But on the other hand, you do have to keep excitement and momentum working in your favor. So how do you do that? It's a bit of an art and not a science, but it's letting someone, one of my favorite sort of tricks of how you play all of us is that you say, hey, so here's where we are. We're having initial meetings this week and next, and then we hope to close in the next, by the end of the month. So you have some reasonable time frame, and you make us feel that we're part of a process. When you just come in, you pitch, and then you leave, we think we have time on our side, and if you give us time, we use it. So my advice to you is have a process. Now, do you get to keep that process? It depends. That's a luxury. But at least have a process, state the process, and the VC, if they're really interested, will act accordingly.
And in terms of in-meeting mistakes or presentation mistakes, I think shameless self-promotion without intellectual honesty will blow you up straight away, especially if the VC knows the market. Right, so a lot of times you'll see entrepreneurs come in and be like, we don't have any competition. Our competition is these guys who are similar, but they don't really matter to where we're going. Or our market size is way bigger than it is in actuality. And if the VC actually knows that market at all, I mean, it's over right there.
I think you need to know, in addition to all this stuff, just know your numbers. Sometimes a lot of people come in and they just don't know the financial story, if they have the financial stuff, and we'll start asking them questions, and they'll just be like, oh, this is like my CFO does this. I think it's important that you understand where those numbers come from. I think another thing that's important, at least for a fund of our size, is you should be able to tell a hockey stick story. If you're a business, if you're showing us numbers that are flatlining, you're going like this, that's really not interesting to us. And so you really want to paint that hockey stick, because we know that it's likely going to fall short. And so if you're painting something too realistic, we're probably going to not be very interested.
So fraud is Lisa's pushing fraud as a way to get VC funding.
And don't argue. If we have a point and we're making a point and we're trying to give you some intel, don't push back on it and tell us we're wrong. If you think we're wrong, just sit there and take it, right, and understand it. You can address it, but please never say, I think that's also very disrespectful, and it really doesn't lend itself to a good relationship down the road, if you have a chance.
So what's the one factor or trait or similarity among the companies that you guys have invested that where terrific outcomes have occurred? What's the one guiding principle where that has happened? Or if it's not one guiding principle, everybody's different, and that's an okay answer too. But what leads to the best outcomes?
I think to me it's all about passion. So finally, deliver what we have promised, because quite often companies are telling a lot of stories, but finally ending up in nothing, and therefore I think that's quite important. But first of all, I think passion is the one which drives everything, and which is also to me the most important factor.
From an enterprise investing perspective, we already talked about market size has to be large, and then the product market fit has to be really, really clear, addressing a very clear pain point. And then the team and the investor have to work well together. I mean, sometimes the only thing that's missing is that right fit and right chemistry, especially again in early stages, is absolutely critical between, say, the investor board member and the CEO and the founders. So make sure that you're working with investors who are, in your mind, great people to work with.
I'd say there's one thing that I was going to pick would probably be like the CEO having good judgment. That tends to be super important.
I'm going to throw something else in. You absolutely need to know your brand. You need to have the brand narrative down. You need your brand point of view, your brand identity. It is really critical. We at Structure actually put our companies through branding exercises so that the brand is baked in at the very, very beginning as the product is being developed. It is the brand measurement. I mean, we go through a whole tutorial on what we call baking in the brand. And that's an indicator of success for sure. How you sell it, how you know your product.
John?
I guess this is a little bit to the inverse, but I think a lot of times success comes with focus, and when you're unfocused, it'll blow you up really quickly. You know, you're a small startup, and no matter how well capitalized you are, you're still starting from a small kernel. And if you've got your focus placed in multiple different locations or across multiple different areas, you'll lose all of those.
Okay. This is where I work my shameless plug in. The most important factor is having a terrific lawyer. So,
That's helpful.
Last question, then we'll take some questions from everybody else. The one piece of advice, one key takeaway, pithy, short, for everybody to take home with them from how to create a fundable situation. Lisa? Oh, I'm just going to go up and down.
I mean, I think it's what everyone said is just be confident. We're really just looking for strong teams with a disruptive product in a large market. And if you can pitch that with confidence and a strong vision, that's good.
So the one takeaway is probably don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to do everything all at the same time. I mean, that's just basically what you were saying is that go in, I always say to an entrepreneur, is to go into one door of a house and then explore the rooms. But go through one door, one focus. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Yes.
And I would say that build a really big business and don't be focused on the fundraising. We should be sort of just something you have to do on the way to success. Fundraising in and of itself is not success. And I can tell when I have entrepreneurs in front of me who are like, hey, we're building this. And yeah, of course we need capital and that's why we're here, but it's the focus is way more about what they're excited to build or are building, and they're not even letting capital get in their way, and that they're just picking up capital along the way as a necessary evil.
I would say, if I had to pick one thing, I would say do your homework in advance. As I mentioned at the beginning, pick the 20 firms who are an extremely good fit for you. Do 2 meetings at a time. Learn from the feedback, and truly learn. Really take the feedback. Don't dismiss it and just go tell the same story to investor number 3, 4, 5. See what pushback you're getting from the first couple. Think about it, address it, and then go to the next meeting.
So, I mean, similarly, some of the things that we've said as a panel and what I've said before, I think know your market and know what you need to do to build a team and the product to address that market.
I would say the key takeaway from my side is love what you do and stay tuned.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for me? I don't know if there's somebody running around with a mic, but if you could be loud, that'd be great.
Yeah, just valuation. How do you determine what it's going to be? How do you negotiate that?
It's actually on the list. I skipped that. Yeah, right.
Take a crack at it. I'm assuming most of the audience here, again, is really early stage company. So I would say, in my opinion, I mean, there might be different opinions. I think it's a mistake as an early stage company to be overly focused on valuation. I mean, look, there are standard ranges. I mean, if you're raising a Series A, and again, I'll stick to my word, let's say you're an enterprise company, your pre-money is going to be anywhere from, 4 to 15. You're going to give up anywhere from, 30% to 50% of the company in a Series A. Somewhere within that range. And we might debate what the borders of that range are. So really, at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter that much. I mean, if people are knocking on your door and you're already sort of a household name and people are fighting to invest in you, then yeah, worry about it then and figure out, can I be you know, $1 billion or a $5 billion pre? But again, in the world, in the universe that I think matters for this audience, I think it's a mistake to be overly focused on it.
Julie?
Well, you know, if you live in the Silicon Valley, work out of Silicon Valley right now, we call it the Wild West, and the valuations are going right through the roof, and there really is nothing to substantiate it, other than there's so much frenzy and there's so much money pouring in that these valuations don't really reflect the true value of the company. And so be careful not to outvalue yourself when, you know, and one of the things I do hear a lot is we'll ask for a value of a company and the response will be, well, it's 10 million, even though they have no revenues whatsoever, and they're raising a ridiculous amount, they're valuing themselves so high that I think they value themselves out of the market in a lot of ways. And the reasoning behind how they justify us is because so-and-so who's in our space raised this, and so now we feel justified that we can raise that too. That's not a good answer. You have to be, I think, have much more integrity around valuation. And right now it is absolutely running rampant, not just here, but all over the world. Definitely in the UK, it's better down in Australia for sure, and in different other parts of the world. But I know right now here in the US, we're all choking. I mean, I'll speak for myself, but perhaps I shouldn't.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, I think the best thing you can do to add value to your company is to get the right people on the bus. And who that is for you will be different for all of you. But with that said, it's hard to know what a fair valuation is unless you have options. So I think it's really wise for you to have options. That's the best place you'll be in. Now, hopefully you actually have some conviction about who's the right person to work with. It doesn't mean you're going to maximize for valuation. You can maximize for fit, but having options lets you feel good about sort of what's in front of you.
Again, I mean, from my perspective, and I work with a lot of folks like you trying to figure valuation out, it becomes this XY axis of how much stock you're giving up and what the price per share and how much capital you need, and are you over-raising capital that you're going to maybe need 2.5 years down the line. The better answer, typically, I think you'd agree, maybe I'm crazy or not, you wouldn't agree, but is to raise enough money to kind of get you 12 to 18 months, build value with the money you have, and then go back out at a higher valuation. But trying to raise tons of capital at a crazy high valuation often turns these folks off, and then you're kind of nowhere, they're nowhere, they're not interested in playing at those levels. So it becomes this balancing act with little or no magic. Now, on the private equity side, when you're doing multiples of EBITDA and all that other stuff, it's a whole different game. But this is more, I think, more art than science.
And I would say, having not because I'm a VC, just for you all, is maximizing valuation actually doesn't help you. It feels really good at the moment, but what you're doing is you're diminishing the options that will be available to you when you are done with that fund, and so, or that fund, you know, the amount that you raise. And so you're sort of backing yourself into a corner when you don't have to. So let's just say you could get $6 million pre today, and that's the right, and you're going to raise the right amount for you, and you're going to raise $2 million. You're actually probably more set up for success to be up and to the right, because every raise you want to be up and to the right. And so you've allowed that to happen by not maximizing and going for a $50 million pre just because your buddy did it. And you probably could do it, by the way, because like Julian said, it's crazy, but it doesn't necessarily help you. And I think a lot of the really good investors won't be the ones who'll be getting at that price.
Just one more to that, and again, because at the end of the day, what matters is your percentage ownership in the company. And I mean, look, founders' equity is not the only way where you're going to get your ownership. There's an option pool, and as you continue to add value to the company, as the company grows, the board is going to re-up the option pool. So, I mean, at the end of the day, maybe just kind of going back to the theme, that valuation, especially in the sort of Series A, B range, might be more important than it actually is in real life.
Sir?
Could you talk about some of the dynamics in finding a lead VC? Because some of you will lead rounds, some of you will follow rounds, particularly when you look at earlier stage investing. It's kind of harder to find a lead, and there's more financial and reputational risk on the part of the VC that chooses to be the lead in the round.
Sure.
So for us, our philosophy is that if we have local people grounded in a country like in the US or in Europe, then we are taking also the lead. But we are doing also a lot of co-investments together with a lot of financial VCs.
Yeah, so I'll say we typically like to lead. So we'll come in as that lead. Sometimes we'll follow. That generally depends upon deal dynamics more than anything. It's a much bigger size financing than we're willing to write a check to lead. But typically in that A and B, we'll lead, and what we look for in someone to follow on at least is to really round out the value that we can provide to the company. Right, so if we can do A for the company, we want someone that can do B, and then someone that can do C, and so we want everyone around the table to be adding value.
Yeah. Can I just add
Yeah.
one thing? 'Cause I have a bunch of you may run into this. So a lot of times entrepreneurs that I know have all this money that's willing to follow, but they don't have a lead. I literally had an entrepreneur friend who had $2 million ready to follow, but not a lead. Am I touching reality? Yeah. So my advice to you is you always need a lead. So those angels who will come in for 100 or 250, if you get the right lead, that's a walk in the park. Okay, if you get the right lead, the money will follow. So it doesn't actually help you to round out, to have a bunch of 100K checks lined up when a lead comes in, because when you meet with that lead may be turned off by the people you've lined up, and it's probably taken a lot of your time. So my advice to you all is, if you're raising a 500K sort of friends and family get started to them raise a seed, get whatever money you want, and that works out fine. But if you're really looking to raise a true like I would say million-ish round, spend your energy on your lead, not the people who will fill in and follow.
Actually, we don't lead in our fund. We don't take lead because we actually think of ourselves as Zurich, sort of neutral. We like to keep neutral. But what we do is a lot of our companies want us to lead, and so we do help them to identify a lead. We'll make all the introductions to do that. So some of your investors, if they are early stage and they don't want to lead, ask them if they will be instrumental in helping you identify one.
Okay, one more question. You in the front?
Just would like to ask, what would you advise how to balance, what would be the right way to balance investment and quality investment? The investment that will provide you business infrastructure, advice, lead, versus just investment. What are your thoughts on that? What's the recipe to balance those two?
I mean, my point of view is you're going to take the dilution. You might as well have the capital be as smart and value added as possible, right? That's your job. So in some cases, you hit the right partners, sort of your dream list, and you get one of them or two of them or however it goes down, and that's fabulous. In some cases, I've seen entrepreneurs kind of say, screw it, I can't get one of them to go. They're holding me back from building my business, and they'll raise $2 million of angel money. So sometimes capital is just capital, and sometimes capital is really smart and hardworking. And so if I were you all, I would aim for hardworking smart capital, and then plan B would be just capital.
We look at it a lot as also, so we're raising right now our second fund, the one that we have the 50 companies, but the way that we look at building a strategic LPs, right? We're going to look at LPs that our founders can also leverage their expertise. You're going to want to find strategy, or you're going to build strategy around yours as well, especially at a seed round where your initial investors are also almost like co-founders with you. They're very, very hands-on at the seed round and the Series A. So you really want, there is a hybrid of that. There's not an either or.
I think Joe is going to tell me to wrap it up at this point. So at this point, I'd love to give the panelists a big round of applause and let everybody know that right after they're handing out term sheets and checks. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. You made that easy, John. Yeah.
working the whole time, right?
We're going to take a quick 15-minute break and then we'll reconvene for our next round of concurrent panels.
We also need our 10 cards. I'm not sure. So today or yesterday? I don't remember if it's today or yesterday. Not sure. Try to find out, see if it's bad downstairs.
This? Not this?